All right, guys, we are back. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. You are listening to K-Talk Radio. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki, and today, in case you missed it, we are talking about fixing and flipping your first house. If you've ever thought about getting involved in fixing and flipping houses, like you see those wonderful shows where these people make large chunks of cash, well, we're going into a little bit more detail. For those of you who have heard my show in the past, you know that many of the guests that we have on here are some of the biggest fix and flippers in the state of Utah. And they'll come on to the show and we'll talk about fixing and flipping. They'll give away a lot of nuggets. But today we're going to go into it a little bit deeper, a little bit more detail. As detailed as we can get, I should say, in an hour show. So, let's get back to this. Okay, a question I get asked all the time, a fourth question that you should consider asking yourself in regards to if this is something you want to pursue, fixing and flipping properties, is can you afford to lose if you lost a large chunk of cash on your house, on your fix and flip? So, there's been some houses where I've lost money, but thankfully I could afford to lose the money because I was in a position, gratefully and thankfully enough, that I could just go do the next flip and then make some more money again and recoup, hopefully, a lot of the lost money on the previous. But for a lot of newer investors, if you lose money on your first deal, let's say that you're the gentleman who saves $30,000 up to utilize to renovate a house. Now, you go and borrow a hard money loan. We talked about this earlier on the show. You go and borrow 100% financing from a hard money lender, from a private lender, from wherever. And they give you entire acquisition cost to purchase the property. They give you all the funds. But you now have to come up with the renovation money. And you've saved this over years and years of hard work. And the renovation on the house is $30,000. And that's perfect because that's exactly the amount that you have in your savings. And now you're projected to make $20,000, $25,000 on this flip. So you buy it, you spend the $30,000. But before you know it, you run into the nightmare house that basically gives you so many surprises, and before you know it, that $30,000's gone and you need more. And now you're stuck with the situation on what do you do here? Do you sell the property and break even? At this point you're broken even. You spent all your money, but you've hypothetically lost 30 grand. Or do you go borrow another money and dig yourself deeper in the hole because you've got to get your money, your lenders paid back. So you have to eventually sell this house. So do you sell it as is? Do you go borrow more money to fix it up? Either way, it's a loss. A lot of new investors find themselves in this position because of the question number 2 that we discussed. They underestimated the repairs. It was never 30 to begin with. It was more like 45. Or the value of the home was never what they thought they could sell it for. It was a lot less. And so now they're in a position where their very first flip, they've wiped out. That $30,000 that they saved over years and years and years is now gone. And they're out of the flipping game. If that's something that you can't afford to lose, then it may be something that you definitely want to get a mentor involved, pay a mentor. It's cheaper than losing $30,000, I'll tell you that much right now. Or maybe you just, hypothetically, if you can't stomach losing 30 grand, maybe not do that particular, maybe not get started, hypothetically, right? Like, if you want to get started, but something to think about. Again, we're going over the top questions you need to think about that a lot of investors don't, is can you afford to lose? Now, there's a gentleman that I know, happen to be friends with, that ironically, he bought a house, fixed and flipped it, put it on the market, beautiful. He did a great job, he always does. His houses look great. And he went on a Sunday to check the house, just to do a run and check to see how it looks and if the floors are clean. Right now it's winter and this is very recent. Went over to check the house, and if you can imagine, I've never heard of this scenario, situation, story, whatever you want to call it, ever before in my life, but the driveway was gone. Somebody had mistakenly taken out the wrong driveway to a house and they took out his driveway, right? So this is beyond his control. This is a scenario where now he's got to dump more money into the house, not because of a mistake that he made on the home, not because he undervalued it or underestimated the repairs or overspent or nothing like that. This is somebody else who came in, demolished his driveway, took all the concrete. I mean, it was just dirt. There was no pile of concrete. I mean, they took it all away. It was professionally done. And then we showed up, he had no driveway. Now, of course, this company realized that they made the biggest mistake because they never came back. And so to this day, to the best of my knowledge, unfortunately, this individual never found out which company came out and ripped out his driveway. So now he's stuck with an expense that he was not, not including in his estimated repair budget. He's got to put in another driveway. And so these are kind of scenarios that you need to be prepared for. And my recommendation, if these are things that you cannot stomach, then it is definitely, and you want to start, you want to get through this learning process, you must at least partner with a mentor. Find somebody who's done this before, partner with them, bring them your deal that you found and say, hey, listen, let's split this 50-50, and now you're going to be in better hands with somebody who's done this and have experience. So a lot of new investors, and we're in Utah, we're the do-it-yourself state, right? Everybody likes to do things themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that, but when there's a lot of risk involved, I think it's better to include other individuals, even if it's going to cost you half of your profit or whatever it may cost.